As the liturgy wars reignited by Pope Francis's crackdown on the traditional Latin Mass continues in places like Detroit and Charlotte, North Carolina, how are the Catholic faithful being affected by the Masses suddenly outlawed in their parishes? A new film going viral on YouTube, Bread, Not Stones, captures members of the traditional Latin Mass community in the Diocese of Charlotte reacting to these new bans that kick in October. Here to share his experience as a founding member of the Charlotte Latin Mass community, creator of the Liturgy Guide blog, Brian Williams. Brian, thanks for being here. Pope Francis promulgated these restrictions on the Latin Mass in 2021. He passes away in April. Pope Leo's elected in May. Then not long after that, the new Archbishop of Charlotte, Michael Martin, announces even tighter restrictions on the TLM for Charlotte. He gave that July 8th deadline. And then, as you remember, there was a backlash, and it extended to October 2nd. Around the same time, similar actions were declared by the Archbishop of Detroit. What was the reaction of the folks in Charlotte when they heard that the bishop would be further restricting this celebration of the traditional ancient Mass? And was there prior division in the diocese regarding the traditional Latin Mass?
So no, the restrictions had been announced under the prior bishop because Rome was demanding something to be shown that Traditiones Custodes was being implemented here. I think it was a bit of a punt down the road, and then to see what would happen in October of this year. And because the prior bishop, Bishop Peter Jugas, was very friendly to tradition and had always supported the traditional liturgy. Bishop Martin came in and decided to move that forward, as you said, to July. And then I think only because of the backlash received, reinstituted the prior deadline in October, which first moving it up was disturbed the faithful very much. And then, of course, as time moved along, showing that we did not have any type of division or disunity within the community. And I'm not going to say that everything has always been perfect. We've had this Mass every Sunday since 2012. We've had the Latin Mass being offered in parishes since 2007, really with the beginning with Summorum Pontificum. But really the unity was there. And what's interesting was people not only going back and forth between the two Masses, but even those who settled into the traditional Mass only or the Novus Ordo only knew each other. Co-ops for homeschooling communities, different activities. Some of the boys served both the Masses. So it kind of was the model that I think that Benedict wanted to see. It's what we achieved. It's what the pastors themselves and the faithful told Bishop Martin, since he was new to the diocese. Now, mind you, not in person because he's never come to visit our community. So we've never met with him. But we've told him that through petitions and online and through our pastors. And none of that has seemed to persuade him to ask for any kind of further dispensation.
Yeah, I want to talk for a moment about this film in which you're featured and you're acting as a spokesman, Bread, Not Stones. Brian, how did this project come about? And what is its purpose? Sean O'Halloran, who's the director, and his colleagues started production in June. The film is now posted on Regina Magazine's website and their YouTube channel. Give me a sense of where this came from.
So Regina Magazine wanted to really chronicle what was happening because we've seen these great videos online. Mass of the Ages comes to mind that really kind of give you the macro of the story. But what happens when a particular diocese first discovers the traditional Mass, and then what happens when they're faced with losing it? And that's what Regina wanted to capture. And reaching out to Sean O'Halloran, his wife Tracy, who conducted the interviews. These are people who used to attend Mass here, actually drove from South Carolina just to come to St. Anne's in Charlotte for the Latin Mass until they got their own down there. So they know the community well, but it happens that they're phenomenal filmmakers too. So Regina was able to match up with the O'Hallorans, and this vision came to fruition then. And I think it's a fantastic film.
Yeah. I want to give people a taste of what they'll be seeing. This is a bit of Bread, Not Stones, where Charlotte Catholics react to the new restrictions on the Latin Mass. As Brian mentioned, the first part of the film is really about people who are just discovering it for the first time, what they receive there that's different from their previous experience, and then the restrictions kick in. Watch this.
When the whole thing in Charlotte happened, my first thought was, and Matt and I have talked about that in the past, is what good father gives their children stone when they're asking for bread, or what good father reaches them a serpent when they're asking for fish. If my children came to me and said, Mama, I'm hungry, I'm not gonna go tell them go outside and eat a rock.
That being said, it's still hard because as a pastor you want to see your people, and Sunday is when you see your people, and there will be a hole here in our community.
To bounce back and forth just for us in the way that our family is structured would have been really, really difficult. We kind of had to decide where we were gonna be. There's a little bit of liturgical schizophrenia when you're trying to do both. If the Mass goes away, it will be really, really sad. Mm-hmm. For our family, and we know for other people as well. Mm-hmm. It will be very, very disruptive.
The thing that is the hardest for me is a big part of my faith life is it's a journey, right? And we're not supposed to be doing this journey on our own. We should be doing it within our parish. And now we're going to be living this double life where we worship with a group of people and then we come back to our parish for other needs. So it's going to be a little schizophrenic.
Say, okay, this is what it looks like to trust God, and even when things go wrong, especially when things go wrong, you already have these graces and you already have this community that knows how to do this, that knows how to navigate this.
If the Latin Mass was to go away from St. Anne's, it would be super divisive. And I know you know this, but it would be the worst thing that anybody could do is to push away part of the parish family. It would be like causing a divorce. And it would be like a forced divorce within this parish. This liturgy has uplifted so many people, including me, and if it wasn't for the Latin Mass, I wouldn't be who I am today.
With your blog, The Liturgy Guy, Brian, you actually conducted surveys of Latin Mass goers a few years ago. Tell me about the support from non-Latin Mass goers in the Diocese of Charlotte. How significant was that, and has the diocese tried to imply that this kind of support doesn't exist at all?
The diocese has used the language of division and discord and seeking to address that. The problem with that narrative is, number one, the pastors themselves, who you would think would want to have peace in their parish, have said that there is peace in their parish currently, and that the disunity will come from exiling parishioners. There's a clip in the film where Father Timothy Reed says, asking someone to have to choose between the Mass they love and the parish they love, it's an unfair position you're putting somebody in. Within the diocese itself, many, and I believe it was more than half of the letters that were sent to the bishop, the petition that was generated asking him to reconsider, were from folks who don't go to the Latin Mass. And in many cases, maybe they only go on a certain vigil or certain feast days or whatever, but these are people who know each other, who are close to each other. As I said, it's a large homeschooling community. It's a large Catholic community. And when you're in the parish such as St. Anne's or St. Thomas Aquinas, the faithful who go to the ordinary form know the people who go to the Latin Mass, and vice versa, and get along well and see each other outside of Mass.
Well, this is the mutual enrichment that Pope Benedict talked about, that you'd get, bleed over from one Mass, the extraordinary form to the ordinary form and vice versa. And that created a fulsome community. The challenge here, as you mentioned, they're asking people to go now to a remote location. They're going to have a Mass at a former Protestant church, only one Latin Mass in the entire diocese, which is going to kick in October 2nd. So the 4 parishes that currently offer it, all those people will have to go to that central Mass. And then they're still saying, but we want you involved in parish life. I don't understand how that's possible, Brian. You're asking people to basically separate the worship that they are adherents of from the parish life that they were once a part of, but they're expelled. They can't worship in that parish any longer. How does that make sense?
It doesn't. It is not. The impression is that it is not set up for success. There were some documents that were leaked a few months ago when it kind of all first came to a head, and the Q&A or the talking points released that were attributed to Bishop Martin point to the very fact that many will not be able to continue going to this Mass when it gets moved. And that is implied that that's okay. It's implied that if they cannot go, then more or less mission accomplished, which is very heartless considering that there are so many of these young people who have grown up going to this Mass, their friends are in their parish. Some are going to make the drive, but there are many who can't. Financially, they can't do that, pay for that gas. They can't make that 2-hour drive one way in some instances. And so it's not with the pastor's heart, it would seem, that you're doing that. It seems to be more of an agenda as opposed to a response to anything that anyone is asking for. And again, the film points to this. It points to the very articulate faithful telling the story. And it's a sad story, ultimately, at the end, unless, God willing, something changes here at the end.
No. Well, you could have called it the Henry VIII effect. I mean, you're basically outlawing something overnight, and it's so dislocative to people. It's so rupturing to their family lives and their faith lives, particularly if you want to root them in a parish at a time when you're looking to strengthen and grow parishes, I imagine. But what effect do you hope this film will have on those who see it, lay people as well as priests, and maybe the bishop himself, particularly Pope Leo?
I think a couple of things. There are individuals who I think still kind of adhere to the stereotype, or all they know is the stereotype that the people who go to the Latin Mass are disruptive or just not pleasant. What you see with these are folks who are very knowledgeable. They're very charitable, and they really are just looking to go to Mass, and they want to be part of their parish. So I hope it humanizes this community, because it's a reflection of other communities as well that have already been impacted and may still be impacted. With regards to Pope Leo, we've been told unofficially that that's where it's going to have to come from. If we're going to get any kind of relief from this situation, it's going to have to come from Rome. And so we would hope that an American Pope, and that you can see that there's no charity in this process. This is not for the betterment of the church. It's not for the betterment of these parishes. It's going to be something that really hurts families deeply. And you're talking about folks who just want to live their faith and just want to go to Mass. And they're there all through the week, not just on Sundays, very involved in their parishes.
Brian Williams, we will leave it there. You can find the film Bread Not Stones at Regina Magazine's website. They're at reginamagazine.org or on their YouTube channel. Brian, thanks so much.
Thank you, Raymond.